persistence and time. It's like time on task is king. Like there's this expression in skiing, no friends on a powder day.
My guest in this episode is Van Neistat. Van is an artist. His chosen medium is videos. You can find him at The Spirited Man on YouTube and on Patreon. We discussed surfing, his frustrations with surfing, thoughts on improving surfing, surf culture, art, comedy, mastery, flow states, and more. Links to everything we talk about are in the show notes. So without further ado, I give you my conversation with Van.
All right, so we're rolling on everything.
All right. Van, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You and Tom made one of the most concise and inspiring videos about how to learn how to surf. What inspired you guys to make that?
I think it's the agony of learning how to surf inspired it. And then Hurley, when they were owned by Nike, paid for it.
What did you learn from that process?
Well, I think it was like the video was an excuse to sort of unload all of the learning that I had done in my struggle to learn how to surf over which I never learned over the course of many years, decades. And I think the film was just a way to articulate that phenomenon or that experience.
It's such a hard thing to articulate.
Yeah, and I think the thing about surfing is maybe it's different now, but it feels like everything's a secret. Like nobody wants to teach anybody anything. Like you just it's the most complicated activity that I've probably ever tried as far as fun things that are supposedly fun, and everyone's very greedy and just wants the wave to themselves. And if you're not good enough, then oh well. There's this expression in skiing, no friends on a powder day. And that's what I think the culture of surfing is to me. It's just no friends on a wet day.
That's a great expression. That almost sums up the surfing culture in one sentence. And you've been inducted into it and confused by it. And you didn't like the initiation process, and you articulated it awfully well. And it's almost like I think surfers purposely withhold information because they just want to make sure that you want it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? Surfing it's incredibly hard.
I don't know what you mean. What is that? What do you mean the right reasons? What are the right reasons?
Well, that's a good question. I think, you see a lot of... because it's such a limited resource, all right? You take, for example, Malibu First Point. They say there's one wave coming in every 2 minutes, all right? So there's more than that. Let's say there's one really nice wave coming in every 2 minutes. Now, there's maybe 100 people in the water. Do the math. There's not much actual surfing going on out there.
Yeah.
So most of the people out there want everyone else not to be there. So they don't make it easy for you because they want to be on that wave.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, if there was only 10 people out, you still have the same problem.
What if there was 2 people out?
If there was 2 people out,
and they were strangers.
I literally had this experience last week surfing here in New Zealand. I go down to one of my favorite breaks. And I'm the only one there. I was so happy. And then as soon as I paddle out, someone else paddles out. And there's 2 people, waves to go around. And this guy, he wanted every wave that I got. He just wanted it for some reason. He didn't drop in on me, but he pretended to and made sure that... And he was catching his own waves. It's just, I don't know what it is about surfing and surfers. And you can have the nicest guy in the car park. And then as soon as he puts his wetsuit on and goes surfing, just a complete narcissist. I don't know what it is about surfing.
I know what it is. It's free. It's just like spam emails. Like if emails cost 5 cents each, email would be so much better. But surfing is free, so, and also it's super super cool, and it has this whole like beautiful like status image to it. So everyone wants to be a part of it, and everyone wants to be able to say, "I went surfing this morning." And it's, it's not like that really. I mean, you know this, but I don't find it's like that in Mexico. In certain parts of Mexico, it's much more friendly. Like even for, what do you call them? Barneys or whatever? What do you call like kooks? Even for kooks like me, like I lived in at La Saladita for 4 months, and I was no good, but people were very friendly to me in the water and out of the water. I love surfers out of the water. Malibu. I mean, I've never even bothered to try that. I've never even bothered to try there. I've never bothered to try surfing in Topanga, at Topanga Beach, and I live in Topanga. I pay taxes in Topanga. My kid goes to Topanga Montessori School, but I'm not getting in that. I'm not getting in there. No way. Because I think I just missed the window. I'd really like to make a movie, like a video that's called Don't Surf, and just the whole, like, I really don't think you should. I don't think you should ride I don't think you should buy a motorcycle, like a shifter bike motorcycle, until you're at least 30 years old. I don't think you should start surfing past the age of like 14 years old. And there you go. We'll weed out some people. Like I made that How to Learn How to Surf movie is like a deterrent. Like that's the joke that we were all talking about. It's like, God, hopefully this will get people to not want to surf. Because it was the absolute, we were in Bali. It wasn't huge. And we had Rizal Tanjung with us, who's like one of the greats. And we had lots of money, and we had boats and resources, and it was still like kind of miserable for all of us because we were all below the 500 to 1,000 hour, steep slope of the learning curve, and like that was sort of the conclusion we came to with that movie, which is called How to Learn How to Surf. That was the big conclusion. We came up with like 10 bullets of surfing, of learning how to surf. But I think the big conclusion is, persistence and time. It's like time on task is king. I mean, sure, there are people who are super talented, like in everything. There are people with like that possess a natural talent. But I mean, it's just, I don't think it's really negotiable because it's such a sophisticated activity. And that's another reason why it's such a bummer to like I've given up. Like I'm not getting back in that water. Someone else is going to teach my son how to surf, because I've like, maybe not, maybe I'll go back on it, maybe, hopefully, but I don't have any interest of getting in that water. Also, I don't like being wet, and I don't like being cold. And the thing about surfing also is unless your house, and this is how I lived when I was in La Saladita, unless the water is Caribbean warm, by which I mean above 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and the waves are like you walk down the stairs and 20 feet in front of you is the water that you're going to surf in. Unless it's that, it's extremely inconvenient. All that sand and the wetsuits and the boards. And when you're new, the boards are gigantic, right? So you're carrying this canoe, and you're like knocking over things, and it goes on the top of your car, but it flap, 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 flap if you don't strap it down right. And it's just to hell with it. Like no wonder snowboarding costs like $250 a day, because snowboarding to me, or skiing at at the equivalent of like Padang, Mammoth Mountain, or Blackcomb, or some world-class North American slope. It's serene and beautiful. And yeah, there's assholes, but guess what? I'm better than all those guys. So they can't keep up with me. And you can get solitude even on sort of busy days, but it's an absolute fortune. A friend of mine who lives down the road calculated, he has 2 kids. He calculated for a weekend trip for the family, it was 4,000 American dollars. That's a lot of money. You can buy a Tacoma for that here.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's sort of my tirade against surfing, but it's good. It bodes well for you guys who've earned it. Who. I mean, you're right. I mean, you're right in a way. You know?
Well, it's interesting you say, because what I got out of watching that movie was the one girl, she got scared one time, and then she ended up being the one who sort of had the most fun. Her goal was to jump on someone else's board, I think.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah.
So she had a more light-hearted goal, and she ended up getting more out of it. Does she still surf?
I think a little bit, but I mean, when you've been at it for 20 years, you're not going to want to start with I think I started the first time I ever tried to go surfing. I believe she does still surf. Although I don't know for sure. She's from Ireland.
When did you start?
I started the first time I ever attempted it. And I thought wax was like something that was like an extra thing. I thought you could just, like with skis, you don't have to have wax on skis and they'll go down the hill. But with surfboard, you have to have wax. Like I think the first time I went surfing, it was like a 6-foot surfboard and I had, and it had no wax on it. And I was in Florida, Jupiter Beach in Florida. And, I was 17 years old and I tried all day or something. That was the first time. And I think the last time I went surfing, I was probably maybe 44 or 45, something like that. And I just never had a whole block of years where I was going every day for multiple hours. I did that for 4 months. I thought maybe I could get a toe hold in 4 months of treating it like a career. I'd wake up at 7 and be out before the sunrise and that break at, I'm goofy. So that break at La Saladita was just perfect for learners. It's sometimes the waves were like a minute long. They were so long and gentle and easy to catch and everything. And I did it. And, it takes a couple, maybe I was there for 4 months. It takes about 2 months maybe for the body to get in the right shape. And then, I was doing more challenging things. And then I didn't surf for a while. And I went to Indonesia and it was all gone. It was all that knowledge. It was not like riding a bicycle. It was not like skiing or snowboarding. It was not like riding a motorcycle. It was just all gone. And I had no idea what I was doing. And it was amazing because, there were all these pros and excellent surfers. This guy named Marlon. The community is so small. I'll just name names and you guys probably know who I'm talking about. This guy named Marlon, who was Rizal's friend. This guy named Punker Pat Towersy. There were a couple other guys in Bali, and they throw the boards to everyone, and they know just how, by watching you put the board under your body in the water, they know how good you are at surfing. It's unbelievable. And forget it. I'm too old, and how many guests have you had who are fuck surfing? Have you ever had a guest be don't do it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people...
You have?
Don't do it. They say that because they don't want... They say it from a selfish point of view. They don't want other people in the water because they love it. I think all surfers go through a stage of having a love-hate relationship with surfing. I went through a stage where... I think when you start to get good at surfing and you start to be able to surf lots of different conditions... it starts to become a little bit of an addiction, and it starts to get in here, and then you find yourself, you're at work and you're just looking at wishing you were surfing, or you're at your partner's birthday party, and all you can do is think about surfing, or you miss someone's birthday party because the surf was good, and it's completely justifiable to you and the other surfers around. They get it, but I think I've come to... I want to be in control of my relationship with the ocean, not the other way around. So I think when a lot of young surfers, the ocean's in control of them. They live their life in the forecast, and even if they can't go surfing, the fact that they know the surf is good just gets in there and it affects everything else.
I mean, if I was good at it, it's all I would do. If I was good at it, it's all I would do. And I think it is a worthwhile life. If you spend a life and that's all you did, you didn't have a career. You didn't make lots of money. You didn't like, I mean, it's easy for me to say, but living a different kind of life, I think it's worthy, because I've seen people who do that. I've seen people who just, they're dedicated and their life is spent in the ocean surfing every day, and they just kind of, everything else they figure out, it's kind of ancillary to that. And like you said, if the weather's good, I mean, the ultimate is to make a fortune. Like, is it John Hurley, the guy who founded Hurley? Is that his name?
Bob
Hurley, that's correct. That's right. I sat next to him on the flight from Hong Kong to Bali. And if that is the ultimate, his life is the ultimate, because he made his he built his company up relatively quickly, cashed out, made a fortune, and now he can surf wherever these guys, he had a whole, he had like a community of these guys that were kind of older, and they went to some island. You would know what it is. I don't know the name of it, but they like rented the entire island. It was near Bali, and it was just like for, you had to be like an expert surfer, but they just go all wherever the waves are good on the planet. And they know, the surfers were like meteorologists, and then they all had money, and they were all, had boards and all that stuff, and they would just go wherever it was. And to me, that's the ultimate, because you get both. You have all the security, and you have all the, you did the career and the money, and you can provide for your family, and yet you get to live like, I don't know, those people to me are like almost religious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like what you said, and you're right. If surfing is that thing for you, do it. If it makes you happy, if surfing gives you meaning in life, then explore that for sure. So tell me, what gives you the most meaning in life?
Oh my gosh. It's my family, I think. That's my purpose, is just to keep the family alive and keep myself alive. That's really what it comes down to now.
Good answer. What is it that, obviously you're pursuing something else that's meaningful that is doing that?
Yeah, I moved to New York when I was 22 years old so that I could, find a career, find that thing. We have this American, maybe it's not American, maybe it's Western, but we have, I think especially in America, we have this, like, you can do your thing, you can like find your purpose, like what you're set out to do, like be brave and mighty forces will come to your aid. And if you truly want something, the universe will conspire to see that you get it. And I think we have that romance. It's a fiction that we all believe, and I think that's kind of beautiful. And so that's what I went to with when I moved to New York. And I initially pursued a career being a professional writer, and I had a job at a children's science magazine at Scholastic Publishing, which had just published like the first 2 or 3 Harry Potter books. So they were swimming in money, and it was really easy to stay at that job without having to compete on that like hyper competitive corporate level. And I just, I didn't like the actual task of writing, like the everyday life of writing. And I think I was not disciplined yet enough. And so I went and worked for this artist named Tom Sachs, and he hired me as a fabricator, which is like the other thing that I love doing with my life. Like I love like being a handyman, and I love books and reading. And so I bought a video camera, and because I had VHS tapes, and they had this iMac DV came out in the year 2000, and it was a computer that only cost $1,200 or $1,300, and I think the iMacs still cost $1,300. But it was cost $1,300, so I had enough money from my tax return to buy it. And then in order to digitize the home movies that were shot on VHS, that's an analog format, you had to put them into a digital format. So the cheapest way to do that was to buy a Sony video camera and then plug they're called RCA cables, into the Sony video camera and record the VHS onto mini DV tapes. And then you would take those tapes and import them into your hard drive, your 10 gigabyte hard drive of your iMac DV. And then you could edit video, man. And it was $1,300, and the cheapest system by which you could edit digital video at that time was a $40,000 machine, setup. So it was astonishing that I was able to take these home videos that my mom had shot in the 80s and cut all the mistakes out and cut all the uninteresting parts out, and then take 50 hours of footage or whatever and cut it down to an hour. And after, I had a video camera left over that I had used to digitize the VHS tapes. So I just really never stopped making little videos and editing them on my iMac, and I'm still doing it. I mean, I was doing it this morning. I was doing it before you called. So, that's my career that I discovered, and it's been very difficult, and it's very difficult to make a living at it for everyone. And I'm old at that, and that's the thing I'm persisting at, even though I kind of feel like it's always been a struggle, and I feel like I'm struggling now, even though by a lot of metrics you would think that, oh, this guy's very successful because I'm able to sort of make a living at it, and I have a lot of subscribers, and my videos consistently get a lot of views. But that's the vocation I chose, and that's what I do with my life. And a lot of, it's beautiful because you get feedback, when it goes up on YouTube, there's the comments, and I also have a Patreon page. People they say, they're very affected by it, and also it's a show about fixing things and making things really. And then people, say, oh, I took my toaster apart, I fixed my blah, blah, blah. And that's great,
It is. It's interesting that you articulate it as a struggle still. Isn't it true for anything that's worthwhile? It's a struggle.
Except brushing your teeth. Because people say anything worth doing is difficult or whatever, and then except brushing your teeth is worth doing. It's really easy. But
practically it is. But don't you find yourself rolling your eyes? Oh, I got to brush my teeth. You think you're ready for
my teeth. Yeah, brushed them today, but 50-50. But no, yeah. I mean, that's what they say. I don't believe it. I don't know. I think to have purpose, and I think built into us is this need to struggle. If struggle is the correct word, I think it's just built into the human condition, and you're just you're miserable in a different way if you're not, if you're not doing something that's difficult to do. If you don't have a difficult situation or something, I think it's one of the left out things that education kind of fails to teach you. It's like a necessary ingredient. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that's also what your videos are teaching us, because you articulate the struggle in the videos so well. It's almost uncomfortable sometimes to watch. But then the end of the video is there's amazing deep messages. Some of your 10-minute videos, I come out of thinking, there's probably 5 books I don't need to read now. I don't know what they are.
Oh, great. That's great.
For example, the video, Who Sets the Standard?
Yeah, about Shelley.
All you need to do, this simple fact, in a small section of the video, you're just talking about his dog. And look, his dog's just sitting there. I'm like, there's so many lessons in there. Just the sarcasm you can hear in your voice. You're basically saying, hey, if you can't look after your dog, you probably shouldn't own a dog. It's bad for the dog. Everyone around you has a bad experience. The dog, and just from this one section of that one video, I got all of that. Do you know what I mean? So I think what you're doing there's so much thought, and obviously you've been writing for a long time, and in some of your videos you actually even outline your process. It's like, this is how I made the video. Like, and I've actually learned, because I've been someone who's been writing and thinking about storytelling, and obviously the podcast, and one of your videos you sort of outlaid your process, and I'd read all these books about storytelling and producing and story arcs, and that one video I watched of yours sort of brought it all together, and just by you saying, this is how I do it, all this other material that I've read sort of just came together. And it actually inspired...
That one's the 30-minute... Are you talking about the 30-minute one?
That was part of... I can't remember which one exactly.
Yeah, see, the reason I ask is because right now I'm in the process of trying to make new thumbnails and titles for like basically all of the video, like for the 1-year anniversary of the channel. My ambition is to make new titles and thumbnails so that the title and thumbnail is like, oh yeah, this is the one about such and such. Because that's part of the YouTube process. It's very, very, very difficult, is how significant and how important the thumbnail and the title is. They say it's more important than the actual quality of the video.
Interesting.
As far as traffic is concerned. So I'm just wondering, by hearing you talk, am I able to remember, even though I made it, am I able to remember, what video is he talking about? And I think it's that one. It says what influence does.
Oh, the narcissism one.
Yes, narcissism versus
that video
universality.
did my head in, because the start of the video, you're like talking about, what is the conflict of this video going to be? And then I thought, that's the conflict. And then you went on to, no, the conflict is about that. And I had to pause the video and think, is this like watching Inception, the movie? Like, what is this? I thought that was a really, really clever video. I still haven't I have to go back and watch that video again, because what you did in that video, I can't articulate it. It's so clever. But yes, that thing in there was in that video.
Well, thank you very much for that. But I want that all to be, that video is mathematically sound. Like the way it's done is sound. The plot works. But I do worry that sometimes you get.
Well, no, I'm over.
I don't want to get away from being entertaining, because I think above all, that's really what you got to do on that platform. You have to be really entertaining, and insight, or like if something makes you really think hard, I think that also counts as entertaining. But
well, you do both. That's what I'm saying. That video, I only stopped it and thought about it because I'm a bit of a analytical nerd. If you watch that video all the way through, the message is clear. Right?
Okay, good.
I think the message is 100% clear, especially and I think a lot of people don't even think about whether their video is narcissistic or universal or educational or and the fact that you thought about it and made a video about that very thing and then resolved it at the end is so clever and so inspiring. Yes, YouTube videos should be entertaining, but I think you've lifted the medium up of YouTube videos to where now you're making YouTube videos that are not only entertaining and educational, but they're very artistic. Do you know what I mean? Like, watching them, you get this, like that video of Shelley, the feeling that I got after watching that video. That's what I remember.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's the goal. That's what keeps me going, really, is that I hope that, the people, the core people they've really connected with the work, and I think that's the real reason for the struggle. That's why it's this and not some other thing that's like easier or more lucrative or whatever. I think thank you. That's terrific to hear that.
Because I watched another one last night of because I see there's a lot of similarities between us, because I got friends who are artists, and sometimes I feel like saying, that's just not art. Like, I've got a friend of mine, he put a bunch of clay on his head, and he got another friend of his to take a photo of it, and that was it. And I thought, well, and he didn't even have an explanation as to why he did it, and it was just so poorly done. And this guy, he sold these artworks, and he's a famous artist. And I just cannot work out why. Now, maybe some other... Well, tell me.
Does this artist live in Bali?
No.
Okay, good. All right.
Maybe
who it was.
Maybe this artist copied that artist.
Okay.
But what was the quote from Tolstoy?
Yeah, he basically said that, art is a phenomenon by which the creator transfers a feeling he or she once experienced onto the consumer of the art. And to define it like that, it's very loose. But it also holds art to a standard. And I think what happened was with the modernist movement, that started probably at the Armory show, which I think was in 1909 in New York. And with the rise of the New York, the New York, but the U.S. art industry and World War II and modernization and, I think maybe Friedrich Nietzsche or I think modernism was allowed that to be pulled away from art. I think it was about, they made it more about the form. And then, conceptual art, redefined what art could be. And then I think what ended up really happening was that it just became this extremely lucrative. It started in about 1995. If you look at a graph of contemporary art sales, that's when the hockey stick begins, and it just skyrockets. It became this extremely lucrative, unregulated commodities market that was very easy to manipulate. There's a terrific book that was written by, I think, a Harvard economist. And it's called, I believe it's called The $12 Million Shark. And it explains basically the economics of how the contemporary art system works from the point of view of money. And I think that's why you're getting, people with the clay on their heads and they sell a lot. It's about pedigree. It's about where you went to school, art school. And I kind of think that industry has become basically corrupted. But there are still great artists in there, and they do work within that system. And there's still wonderful pieces of art that, transfer a feeling from the artist unto us. But, I think that I did a video called What is Art? Or it was called Why Comedians Are the Most Important or maybe Most Significant Artists of Our Time. Because, according to Tolstoy's definition that, art is a medium by which, feeling is transferred from the artist to the consumer, stand-up comics are like the mainline artists. I mean, they're more artful than anyone because if it's not funny, it's not stand-up, it's not comedy. It's like it has a visceral test, whereas everything else, I heard Andrew Schultz, who's a big comedian here, he said that, if you're an actor, you can fake everything, but you can't fake funny.
Yes, and stand-up comedians do more than just make you laugh. They make you think. They make you feel awkward sometimes. Anthony Jeselnik will just shock you with his rawness. I mean, stand-up comedians I totally agree. They are so important.
They're the soldiers on the border of the First Amendment in America. They protect our freedom of speech, those guys. And they're very, especially right now, they're very important because we've got a lot of funny business going on in America, and the comedians for the most part just they're not scared. There's that amazing Bernie Mac. You remember Bernie Mac? He died a few years ago, but super funny guy. And he was filming a special at the Apollo. And the Apollo it's in Harlem, and it's notorious for the audience being really hard on you. And Bernie Mac came out, and the audience clapped, and I think someone started to heckle him, and he goes, "I ain't scared of you motherfuckers." And that line made his career, and that brought the whole house down. They fucking loved him for that. After And that's who, as far as I can see, the real artist comedians, that's who they are, and they remain.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, they're not scared. And if you are, you don't make it. Full stop.
I think some squeak through. I think there's some cowards, but I don't think you're not one of the greats if you're a coward. No way.
Well, is it maybe part of their act, the cowardness? Because you still have to have the balls to stand up and be coward.
Yeah,
You have to get on stage.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
So you spend a lot of time with Tom Sachs.
I haven't seen him in 2 years. I haven't seen him in a long time since COVID, I think, because I'm on the West Coast now and he's on the East Coast, and we get together sometimes when he's out here, or, if I'm out there, but we haven't been working together since I started the channel. So I have spent a lot of time with him in the last 20 years, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who's managed to become successful at a creative career. I mean, what's some of the lessons you learned from him in terms of that? I mean, I think you've already nailed the art thing. Your art makes people feel like you're doing art. That's my opinion, but I'm wondering, what have you learned from? And so is Tom. He's doing art, where Tom. I mean, you could, for example, you could be Tom Sachs creating these amazing pieces of art, but no one might ever see those pieces of art or buy them or anything. So there's more, like, he's got that side of things nailed too. I'm wondering what you learned in that aspect of art from him.
Oh my God. Well, some kind of reckless and crazy stuff, but
I like that.
it's still kind of true. He says, I don't know if he still says this, but when he was like in his 30s, he would say, if you get a little success with your art, fucking get yourself in debt, put your back against the wall so that you have no way out. You just have to like make your work get you out of the hole. And like, man, I don't know. I think I've been in that hole too long. I think I've just been, it's taken a toll on me. It's taking a toll. I mean, I don't want to complain and be, I'm very blessed, and I have a gift, and I aim to give it away, but it does, and I have a wonderful life, and I live in a very beautiful place, and I'm free from, all of my family is healthy, and I have all of those major wonderful things, but as you click yourself up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you start getting into like, being able to provide, and it's been just from forever. I haven't really I haven't really had a big break where I've been able to kind of live within my means, but that's not correct. It's more like I've refused to live within my means. And I do call him. Okay, I'll tell you one thing recently that I learned from him. I did this Kickstarter campaign about a year ago, and I sent him. You can you can do drafts of it. You like build it over the course of months. It's like a Word document or something, and you can send it to people for them to review it. And so before I launched it, I sent it to him, and he was just like, ask for more money. He was just like, all the prizes you're giving away, double the price. He said people just want to support you. He said copy. Oh, I can't remember her name. The artist is present. That woman who sat in the museum and just like stared at you. Mila Jojo. I don't know. She has Maro Jovovich or something. I can't remember her name. She did a Kickstarter, and she had a prize that cost like $10,000, and it was nothing. That was the reward. And so Tom was like, do that. And I did like 4 of them. I did like a $5,000 one, a $10,000. I think they all sold. And I didn't have, so little things like that. But it's only been very recently that he's, that I've like asked him for business advice. And he mostly was my teacher on like how to make stuff and how to like pursue the, honor of being called by others by being called an artist. And so But yeah, he's always been very good at monetizing and very good at not letting the money pollute what he was interested in and what he was building. And if you were to look at, I think conventional wisdom from someone of my generation and your generation, from Generation X, I assume you're in your 40s.
I am. Yes.
Okay, so from our generation, you look at someone who does a corporate partnership just instinctively. When we were kids, that was like, Kurt Cobain never did shit like, he had all his stuff on MTV. So the illusion was that those guys never like sold out to corporations. And, Saks does stuff with Nike and Leatherman, but when you look really far into it, you realize like the shoe, sorry, pardon the pun, the shoe is on the other foot, is that like, no. Tom has had these interests in all of the resources that these corporations can provide him. And this is his opportunity to work with, with the case of Nike, like the most technically sophisticated clothing materials that exist. With the case of NASA, like they have that, I think it's called aerogel. Do you know what this is? It's the least dense, molecule in the universe, maybe. And it's like I think they use it as a heat shield on spacecrafts or something. And it's like, it's a solid, but it's transparent. Have you seen this stuff?
No.
Like Tom has it at his studio. It's unbelievable. And it's kind of strong and it's super heat resistant. Anyway, like, since he was a little kid, he's been interested in materials and making blank out of blank. And he's used all the resources, available to him and all the resources he could wrangle, including, big corporate resources. And yeah, he's the bee's knees as far as I'm concerned. He's a great teacher.
Well, I like what you said about as soon as you get money, just, well, like I think money, you get too comfortable, right?
I don't know.
Is that what he was alluding?
It's terrible. It's terrible. I think maybe that's wrong.
No, I think
the other way is just is better. I'm right now. I think the other way is better. I think it's better to go get a job. I'm serious. I think it's better to go get a corporation job, and then have the other stuff be your hobby. And maybe that's just grass is greener, but I don't know.
It is because pressure makes diamonds, and I guess you can feel like that now, but look at what you're actually doing. You're doing the spirited man, and at the end of the week, you're like, oh, somehow it worked out. There has to be there has to be an element of faith in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's an extreme element of faith. That's why some of us do it and some of us don't. But it's very, I don't know, it's very different. And, I have a younger brother who's extremely successful in this space. Granted, he's put in a lot more years in the YouTube space. This is my first year. I'm doing better than he did his first year. I'm doing extraordinarily well. But, he's younger than me, do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 younger sisters, yeah.
Okay. And he's also smarter and more he's a harder worker than me. And he's retired. He's set for life. He did so well. And so, we started out together. And so, compare and despair, fair enough. And, you should only compare yourself to your past self, fair enough. But, you also have speedometers out there and you have tachometers, and you can't help but like, for me, I just see, well, if he did it, I can fucking do it. So, so everybody just relax. You'll get your money. Just relax. But yeah, I don't know. I'm at it pretty aggressively, and it's very strange because there's this master class that I don't know if you know. I don't know if you have it in New Zealand, but it's like a subscription service. and you can watch all these master classes by these true masters like David Mamet and Margaret Atwood, masters in their field. And I watched all the writer ones, just about all of the writer ones and just about all of the filmmaker ones. And at a certain point, they all kind of say the same thing, is that like it gets to, there's a certain point where it's a grind, where that's what you're doing. You're grinding it out. And the whole romance of when you were a kid, I'm going to be this professional so-and-so, is gone. And it's just where I think that's the reason why you have to love it so much, is because it's going to take so much, and,
You don't have to love the grind, though, do you?
no, you don't have to love the grind, but you have to love the sport or whatever it is, like
There you go.
whatever the thing is you're doing, whatever it is. I don't know. For me, I don't even know. But yeah, it's just deterrence, man. Deterrence. Don't follow your dream. Don't pursue your passion. Get a job and then have hobbies.
Some people work like that. I mean, let's be honest. The majority of people work like that. Otherwise, the world wouldn't be the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, how else is the electricity going to work?
Exactly.
Unless someone goes to a job every day. Or how are you going to get the gasoline, right?
Yeah.
10,000 people have to go to work on time every day in order for the gasoline pump to pump gasoline into your truck or whatever, right?
Exactly. And that's all so that you can make your YouTube videos.
Yeah, now that you put it like that, that's true. That's so true. Yeah, no, it's a blessing. It's absolutely even my psychiatrist said that to me. He's like, it's a blessing, man. Don't forget. And I'm like, I know, you're right. It made me feel so much better. But you just have one of those days sometimes,
Yeah. Well, in surfing, you spend most of your time, surfing big waves especially, you spend most of your time just paddling and getting half drowned, and it's cold, and it's like, why? Hours of just this struggle and you're just constantly go into the beach, your mind is, what are you doing? But you just keep paddling out the back. And then you finally get an opportunity to catch a wave, and then you stuff it up, and you end up under, and you go back out again, you try again, and then you catch a wave, and then time slows down, and you have this magical ride, and you go in, and you're like, oh, it was all worth it. For that 10 seconds I was riding a wave, there was hours of struggle, thousands of dollars into cars and surfboards and wetsuits, and it was just that one wave. And then it's almost like after that one wave, you're a different person.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the it was worth it feeling.
No,
not
for surfing you don't. We already established that.
No, I mean, not for my work either.
Really?
It's a very strange, and I mean, I'm embarrassed to say this, but a genuine take on things is, I think that's what people want to hear. And like, I don't know, when I finish these things, it's a combination of like, okay, so this is what Jerry Seinfeld said. Jerry Seinfeld, I think, writes a joke every day. And he said his reward is that he's finished. And that's sort of how I feel about it. I mean, I'm responsible to it. You know what I mean? And I understand that it's a blessing. And I do the work. But it's very strange. There's not there isn't that it's all worth it. It's not. It's just, I mean, the response from people is like, it's encouragement. It's like, you have to go because there's other people are benefiting from this or something. But, now I've got my family dragged into this. You know what I mean? It's not just, you know what I mean.
I know.
You know what I mean.
I'm not quite as neurotic as you, but I'm close.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm so close. And I used to feel exactly like that.
Yeah.
But man, if the feeling of finishing is enough, take it, man. And then when I tell you that watching that video about Shelley has inspired me to be a better human, I mean that quite literally. And I can see it in your eyes. There was a moment there where you weren't quite so neurotic when I said that. And just take it, man, because you're uplifting the YouTube medium to the point where that video of Shelley is inspiring Literally, like it made that video, all of the Mark Manson books that I've read, that video made them make sense. And instead of me thinking about, oh, remember when Mark Manson said that in book 3, I'm just thinking, Shelley, he's got his shit together.
Yeah, he's a mensch, man.
Because, did you know what? And that I learned that word. I mean, what a great word, mensch.
Yeah, it's a great word. Yeah, we're blessed. You know, in the West, we're very, very blessed with all of our resources, and that we have this freedom to go and do this crazy stuff. And I think the whole world benefits from it. And maybe, I don't know. There's also a neuroticism about, like, you know, giving your best, doing your best. I mean, that means you can barely do it, right?
Perfect.
If you're doing your best, you can barely get it done, because that's what your best is. And when it's falling short, like as far as, you know, performance, let's put it that way, maybe it's going on. I've been doing this for 22 years, man. So you're a professional surfer, eh?
No.
No?
No, God, no.
No.
I didn't start surfing till I was 17. I started surfing at a beach where there were no surfers, and then when I moved to Sydney in my late 20s, I finally was living in a community of other surfers, and there was surf coaches and people that trained for surfing. And I was a personal trainer, and I scored a job in the gym training these surfers, a lot of them professionals. All of them had grown up in this deep surf culture. And the conversations I was having with these surfers, I was learning so much about surfing. And I thought, well, if I record these conversations, then I know there's a lot of people like me that came to surfing late that are going to learn a lot from these conversations. And that's what started the podcast. And that's what, and that process has turned me. I mean, I'm 10 times the surfer I ever thought I would be, because of how much I've learned from just going out and having those conversations and hiring coaches and just analyzing surfing to death and getting annoyed with it. And so that whole process has made me a better surfer. But it's like your voids drive your values. Have you heard that expression before?
No. Your voids
drive your values.
Your values.
My nickname throughout school was Silent Mike. I didn't have the communication skills. I'm a white trash dairy farmer, you know. And then I started surfing, and I loved surfing so much, but I was terrible at it. I was horrible. And now fast forward my life 20 years later, I literally have a podcast where I communicate things about something that I couldn't do 20 years ago. So... Yeah, I'm not a professional surfer at all. I guess I'm a professional surfing educator would be a way to maybe a coach. I think it's more than a coach when you sort of start sharing the oral tradition around surfing. It is a coach in some ways.
Do you ride those big boards behind you?
Yeah.
So can you ride those big giant like waves, like the big ones?
I've surfed some pretty big waves, not like Jaws or Hawaii or anything you might see like that, but I've surfed some pretty solid waves, some scary ones. But you're not supposed to be interviewing me.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But we just met. I know, I mean, it's just to see, there's this cool shot that I stole. I didn't shoot it, but of Rizal at Padang on a big day. I mean, it looked big to me. I don't know. And it was just so beautiful. There's like hundreds of people in the lineup, and he just gets it. And it's like unbelievably beautiful. Him just riding that wave, everybody getting out of his way. Yeah, I'll never know what that feels like. But
you don't really want to either, though, do you?
No. I'd like to know what it feels like, but I don't want to do the work that you have to pay in order to earn that blessing.
It feels like being in the moment.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's to summarize it. I think I think that's where everyone does their best work, right? When they're not distracted by the past or the future, they're just in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I experience that anymore.
I bet you do.
Yeah?
I think we all.
Seems to be the thing, the motor's always, you know. So I don't know, maybe occasionally. But yeah, I asked, there's this pop singer named Frank Ocean here in America. He's like a big famous singer. And I asked him once, I said, what's it like to go out and there's 30,000 people are all singing this along with you while you're singing to them? And he didn't really have an answer for it. And I said, is it like a blackout? And he was like, yeah. He was like, you don't even remember it. I was like, oh, that's fucking beautiful. Imagine being Bruce Springsteen. Every night you doing a big, of your life basically, like 200 nights a year or more for 50 years. You go into a town somewhere and 50,000 people from that region go in and have the fucking best, feel the best energy that they're going to feel all year. And then they go out into their community and they spread that energy around. And it's because you came and sang songs that you wrote, like in whatever state you were in when you wrote them in extreme private, maybe on a bus or something. God, nothing greater. There's nothing greater than that. That is unbelievable to me. Especially him. I mean, he's so energetic and still in shape and super like strong, that man, you know? Still with like, he's been with the same gal for decades. And he said in the beginning, up until Born to Run, he was doing these huge tours, like international tours. Everything was cash, he said. It was cash. It was like bags of cash. He didn't have a bank account and stuff. Like, holy crap, imagine managing that.
I didn't know that. Is it on an interview of him?
It's, he has a memoir that just came out. And I listened to the book. Oh, it's either in the memoir that came out. Like, it didn't just came out. It probably came out in 2019 or 2018, something like that. Can't remember the name. I think it's called like Born to Run or something like that. And it's either that or he did that podcast with Barack Obama. But I'm pretty sure it's in the memoir. And he reads the memoir, which is cool.
Do you listen to podcasts much?
Oh my God, all day. That's why I always have in some of my videos, I have the earbuds in. I'm listening to people talking. And this is an old tradition. I think it was somebody like Noam Chomsky was talking about how blacksmiths in, the 18th century in America, 19th century, they would hire children to read them books while they were working. And tradesmen would do, it was like a practice that they would do. Because some of these, they were super well, they were thoughtful people and well educated. And like the podcast thing is like, I listen to them from basically I don't listen to them while I'm like editing, while I'm working, I guess. Unless I'm shooting, then I'll listen. If I'm shooting or doing something that's manual labor that my body can do without my brain interfering too much, I'm just listening to podcasts,
I'm the same. If I'm doing something that doesn't require a certain amount of concentration, then I either listen to a podcast or music, or I just listen to the negative voice in my head, and I'd rather listen to a podcast.
Yeah, or a terrible song that I hate that's just stuck in my fucking head for a month. That I cannot believe that there isn't a drug for that. There is. There's got to be. There's probably a whole cocktail of drugs, but I have that so badly. I don't want to tell you the songs, but there, like over the last few weeks, there have been songs that I've been waking up to, and it's just like, no, this again. It's still going. This week I have a good one that I like that's stuck in my head, and you might not know it, but it's called so you won't get it stuck in your head is the only reason I'm going to tell you, it's called When I Paint My Masterpiece by Bob Dylan. Do you know this song?
No.
Life's going to be smooth like a rhapsody when I paint my masterpiece. Oh, man, everything's going to be different when I paint my masterpiece. It's so great.
At least you get profound song. A song that often ends up in my head is by, do you remember a British children's program called Lamb Chops.
I've heard of this.
There was a song. There's the song that doesn't end.
Oh yeah, no, I know that one. Now it's stuck in my head. Yeah, no, I know it. Yeah, I know that one. Ooh, that's like, my brother is my youngest brother, Dean Neistat, is he was a jet pilot in Afghanistan and Iraq, and so they had to do all of this training in case they got this interrogation training in case they got captured. Their plane went down and they got captured. And so he said that one of this, it was classified to tell me the duration of this torture that he was subjected to. This training. But I think he was like in a box, like in a coffin, in like outside, under spotlights at night. And he couldn't tell me the duration because that was classified. But he said for a very long time on a loop, they were playing Yoko Ono, Kiss, 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 Kiss Me Love. You know that song? Kiss, 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 Kiss Me Love. That's basically the whole song. But it's literally torture, the earworm.
The podcast is a great medium for that. It really is.
Quiets the voices and replaces them with better, more intelligent voices.
So the spirited man. What's the spirited man? Those 3 words. Why did you choose those 3 words?
I stole them from Matthew B. Crawford, who wrote this book called Shop Class as Soulcraft. And Matthew B. Crawford has a PhD in philosophy, and he was, I think, from the University of Chicago, one of our top 25 great universities in America. And I believe he was like a consultant in a think tank, and he was making very good money, but it was like driving him crazy. So he went and he rented this freezing cold, no heat basement. I think it might have been in Chicago or Pennsylvania. I can't remember. And just started restoring old motorcycles. And he wrote this book about the intellectual value and the philosophical value of working with your hands. And he talked about the contemporary cars, the new cars now. You bring them to a Mercedes dealer or whatever, and they plug all these computers into them, and then the computers tell you what's wrong with the car. Most people have no idea what any of that stuff means. It just gets printed out, and there's an invoice, and you have to pay this much money, and they're going to do the maintenance and the fix. But Matthew Crawford said, but the spirited man wants to know what's wrong, and he wants to have an understanding. I'm not even paraphrasing, but it was this kind of idea. He wants to know what's wrong, and he wants to know, essentially, the spirited man is the man who takes care of his own business. So he had that phrase, the spirited man, and it was about, I don't know, I just identified with it. I said, oh my God, that's me. That's who I want to be. I want to be that person. And this guy is clearly a spirited man, Matthew B. Crawford, because he works on these old BMW R bikes. And, I don't know, there's something to it. Those guys are the real deal. There's also, that guy, Greene, Robert Greene. He wrote the 48 Laws of Power, and he wrote this book called Mastery. Mm-hmm. He wrote another book called The Art of Seduction. He wrote this book called Mastery, and he said that a great way to sort of temper your ego is to do physical tasks that don't give a shit what you think, because either the damn engine's going to start or it's not going to start, to sort of tamp down our, the intellect falls in love with itself. And it's, he suggests that, and I don't know, there's something to that too. Maybe that's when I get in my flow, is when I'm building or making something. But there's a sweet spot. I think it's at the 3 hour mark maybe.
Yeah, you've got to have the struggle to get into flow. Did you read The Rise of Superman?
No.
Stephen Kotler, great book.
Yeah.
That's all about flow states. and how to get into them and what they are, blah, blah, blah. Great book. Yeah, The Rise of Superman. It's told through the stories of athletes, but it's applicable to any pursuit.
Which athletes do you think love their sport the most?
The ones that are the best.
Oh no, oh no, which sport? I'm sorry. Which sport? I didn't ask the question correctly. Which sport is most beloved by its athletes? Or is it just a wash?
I have to say surfing. Because well, surfing is only a sport for those who pursue it professionally. Otherwise, surfing's not really a sport, is it? It's more of an athletic endeavor or an art form for some. I think surfing's only a sport when it's paid professionals. You know, if there were no professional surfers, could you call it a sport?
Yeah,
You could?
sure.
Yeah?
It doesn't have to be professional in order to be a sport, does it? No.
I don't know. The thing is, with most sports, there's an element of competition, is there not? Or scoring. Golf.
Yeah, this is a good point. Yeah. Otherwise, then what is it? It's just riding away. It's just transportation.
So I see surfing more like music. I mean, the whole point of playing music is if you're playing music rather than listening. The whole point of playing a song is to play the song. It's not to get to the end of the song first.
But also, there's an audience.
Maybe
for music, right? Yeah.
Sometimes you just like playing by yourself.
Okay. See, I don't play music. I make music. Like with a mini Moog synthesizer app on my phone, but I don't play music. I just make it, for the show, so I can save money.
You make the music on your show?
Some of it? Lately I have been. For the last few weeks I have been. Yeah. But normally Gray Gersten makes it, and he's like a real musician. He's terrific. He can pick up any instrument and just play anything. But yeah, I mean, I watch sports, and some of these, like basketball, you watch these guys and you're like, these guys love playing this game. Or baseball. Those guys love playing that game. Like, I wonder if the hockey guys really like it. I have a friend who's in the NHL, and how good you have to be in the NHL. I said, okay, in your elite league in Toronto, where you grew up, which is Canada's biggest city, and Canada is the best hockey country in the world, how many made it? And he said, well, it was 900 of the greatest hockey players in Canada. And he said, I think 4 of us made it. Or maybe he was the only one or something like that. It's that rare. And the legend is that he played for the New York Rangers, and he retired from hockey when he was playing for the New York Rangers. And the legend is he threw his skates into the Hudson River and never skated again until like a month ago. And then he started again, and now he's doing like not tryouts but the camp for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they won the Stanley Cup last year. But I thought, I don't know. It's real. I don't know. I don't know who loves it the most. I guess surfers, because they're like, you don't see old, or do you? I don't know. You don't really see like 65-year-old guys at the basketball. Maybe you do, but you definitely see him surfing.
Exactly. Like maybe if you retire from your professional sport and you continue doing that sport, that's what surfers do. It's not what NFL players don't do that, do they?
Nope. Oh, NFL players, I think they hate it the most. I think that job sucks. You get so hurt. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard work that those guys do. Yeah, maybe it is surfers.
Yeah, it could be. Van, thank you so much for your time. Folks listening, The Spirited Man on YouTube and The Spirited Man on Instagram as well.
Yes, and Patreon.
The
Spirited Man, yes.
Awesome. I will put links to all of that in the show notes for those who are listening. And thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you very much, Michael.
I want to push people towards your YouTube channel. I think there's a lot for people, not just surfers to learn, but humans to learn about being good humans. Your YouTube channel is not only entertaining and artistic, it's deep, meaningful, and philosophical and educational. So please, folks, go and check out Van's YouTube channel.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a couple of friends. Let them know.
Something in me, dark and sticky. All the time it's getting strong. The way of dealing with this feeling can't go on like this too long. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. This time you've gone too far. I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you. Don't talk back. Just drive the car. Shut your mouth. I know what you are. Don't say nothing. Keep your hands on the wheel. Don't turn around. This is for real. Digging in the dirt. Stay with me, I need support. Digging in the dirt. Find the places I got hurt. Open up the places I got hurt. The more I look, the more I find. As I close on in, I get so blind. I feel it in my head, I feel it in my toes. I feel it in my sex, that's the place it goes. This time you've gone too far.